The 2023 Ascent offers the best attributes of current Subarus in a form factor that the brand isn't really known for. If you enjoy fun, detailed car content without fluff, consider subscribing and hitting the bell for notifications. For the new model year, the Ascent received a refresh, so let's go over the changes. First, and arguably the most important, would be a new infotainment system. It's their 11.6-inch unit that they've been shoving in basically everything. They've also added standard wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. They've also enhanced the safety with a third optical sensor, helping it to better scan intersections and helps detect pedestrians. Subaru added a PA system to make you feel like a train conductor.
Do it. Do the roar. All right.
But that's only going to come on the upper trims that have the Harman Kardon sound system. Now they offer on the higher trims a 360 view camera system that is helpful and has an okay resolution. We also have a tastefully redone front end, little tweaks around back to the exterior styling. And lastly, there's a new Onyx Edition limited trim that combines the smolder of the Onyx with the upscale treatment of the loaded models. Unlike the Outback Onyx, no Ascent can get a full-size spare tire. This year we have 6 trims with quite the spread in cost. No matter which model you go with, Subaru gives you steering responsive LED headlights. Step up to at least the Onyx and you'll have LED fog lights that can be accessorized on the lower trims if you'd like. In case you don't see everything, you have 8.7 inches of ground clearance to clear surprise obstacles. Notably, the approach and departure angles are only average for the class. So taking this thing off-road may result in an impromptu nose job, but at least you do have a fair amount of sidewall if you go with a base or premium. You'll have 18-inch alloys there. You'll get 20s on every other trim. Unfortunately, you will have to opt for a proximity key that's available on the premium, standard on the Onyx Edition, and the same goes for the power rear gate. In my eyes, it has a look that's about as distinct as mashed potatoes, but I do think that the refresh has kind of sharpened things up. This is all subjective, so I won't talk about this anymore, but let me know what your thoughts are in the comments section. Just like other models in their lineup, the cabin of the Subaru Ascent is comfortable, it feels durable, but in no shape or form would I consider it luxurious or advanced. But as I mentioned earlier, we do have the new 11.6-inch touchscreens. It's a pretty simple setup. There's not a whole lot of configurations. I think the settings are kind of well laid out. However, for taking such a prominent role in the cabin, it feels sluggish and dated, especially considering some of the competition. I do miss having physical climate controls like you had in last year's model, but at the very least you do have these quick physical buttons if you just want to adjust the temperature or turn on the defrosters, and they kept the volume and tune dial in all trims. Everything will also again have Apple CarPlay and Android Auto as wireless, but if you want a wireless charger, you have to accessorize that after the fact. Outside of the screen here, Subaru does try to keep it pretty analog. You have a big physical shifter, there's no capacitive buttons anywhere in the interior, and you have analog gauges, making for an interior that's easy to understand. And if you're looking for a dealer that's easy to work with, may I recommend Royal on the Eastside in Bloomington, Indiana. The staff there are knowledgeable and they do not sell any new cars over sticker. If you're in the market, check them out and tell them thanks for letting me test drive a few Ascents over the years. If you're after the best sound, I'd upgrade from the adequate 6-speaker system to the much more powerful Harman Kardon sound system that's noticeably more clear at high volumes too. The materials in here are also well suited for family life. You do have more cheap plastic than I would want, especially kind of where your knees rest up front, but you have rubberized materials in other places, leather or soft touch materials where your elbows rest and kind of on the dashboard, and really everything in here feels sturdy, despite the fit and finish kind of lagging behind something like a Toyota Highlander. For families or people who just demand the most practical vehicle, you also have plenty of cubbies and 6 charging ports. You can actually opt for up to 8, including a couple of USB-C ports. And in here, I will have 19 cup holders, but it won't fit this one. When it comes to the feature set, the Ascent is well equipped when you consider the price and how expensive a lot of the competitors in this segment have gotten. So even at the $35,000 mark, you will have tri-zone automatic climate control, the infotainment system I just highlighted. Though my personal trim recommendation would be the premium, mainly due to heated front seats with driver's lumbar adjustment, a rear control unit for that HVAC, a leather-wrapped steering wheel and shifter, and the availability for push-button start and a whole host of other features. What I think is most important about the Onyx is the StarTech seating, which is a soft leather alternative that's supposed to be quite durable. The Onyx editions also add a green machine theme, a heated steering wheel, and a panoramic roof. My Tester is a limited, which gives you leather seating. The Touring comes with ventilated front seats with more rich Napa leather upholstery, navigation, but no heads-up display. Another nice addition is the mildly creepy driver focus system. And that's one supposed to tell you that you're being distracted, or tell you that you're falling asleep, but it also functions as a memory seat setting. So it basically, think of it like an iPhone that sees your face and then adjusts the seats and the exterior mirrors to your memory settings, which I think is a really cool feature. Additionally, the Limited and Touring also get adjustable thigh support. So even without the extender there, this does have pretty good support for someone who's tall. I'm 6'3", and I find this to be comfortable, though I don't find it as cozy as the Subaru Outback. I think these seats maybe are a little bit more firm. They just don't contour as well. At least your elbow rests are soft. With the front seat set to a comfortable yet not excessive position, I have just enough legroom in the second row and just enough headroom. Standard on the base, you'll have an 8-passenger setup. You can still get that on the Premium and Limited. You have soft elbow rests with plush seats, though I kind of wish that the floor was maybe a little bit lower, or maybe they angled the seat cushions slightly just to give me that extra bit of support. I do really like the excessive amount of cup holders and the standard rear vents located up around your face. Despite it not being the largest car in the segment, the experience back here is still plush enough for me to label it as one of the more comfortable ones. Two pros to the Limited Onward are heated second row outboard seats and rear sunshades. I also like the really wide opening doors that also don't fling open very easy, so it'll be harder for your kids to use them as battering rams to other motorists. Subaru also adds these kind of funny bullet train grab handles to get into the third row, so you can grab them nice and sturdy. Using the more conventional method, hopping into the third row of the Ascent is pretty easy. I do find my headroom to be just less than ideal, but still good for a vehicle in this class. If I move the second row back, yeah, I mean, my knees would definitely be into the back of the seat, but I think there's still just enough space between these three rows to where I could adjust them as necessary so that someone, again, who is over 6 foot can fit in each row. That's pretty good. Just not enough to be top of the class when the VW Atlas and Kia Telluride exist. Another detail I'd like to point out is that I have much better thigh support in here than I did with the Toyota Highlander. So I would definitely label this as acceptable for a long distance journey. Though if you look behind the third row, the space is small as While tight, I would still consider this at least comparable, maybe even a little bit better than the Toyota Highlander, certainly more spacious than the Mazda CX-9, and you can adjust the third row recline to help delegate more space. Obviously, if you fold them down, storage will increase dramatically, but it still offers middle-of-the-road figures for this segment. While there are strong points to the interior of the Ascent, I think where it truly shines is going to be on the road. Under the hood, you will have Subaru's FA24 engine. It is a twin-scroll turbocharged direct-injected 2.4-liter Boxer 4. This engine will be exclusively hooked up to a continuously variable transmission. And the way that these two work with one another is honestly exactly what a car like this needs. Under half throttle, it makes a lazy attempt to fake shifts, but the speed picks up without drama as it groans along due to the low range torque granting plenty of power from 2,000 to 5,000 RPM. You're also going to have full-time all-wheel drive as standard with the Ascent. This allows it to hook up very nicely, and it will vary the torque distribution constantly, though it tends to rest at a 60-40 split front and rear. But it can definitely send a lot more than 50% of torque to the rear wheels, giving it an advantage over some of the competitors in the class. With this traction and a healthy amount of torque, let's see what it can do with a quick acceleration test. Even though it does make itself a little bit slower by trying to mimic those gear shifts, I got a 0 to 60 there of about 6.8 seconds. Response is actually pretty good. Turbo lag is not entirely eliminated, but the boost builds smoothly and quickly, so it feels refined, and the CVT only limits the experience audibly and off the line. Seriously, this thing takes off with the urgency of a Canadian goose, but just like that fiercely protective bird, the Ascent can have a ton of kick. From 20 to 60, it pulls hard for the class, allowing for easy passing. It seems like no matter which point you are in the RPMs, the car is ready to go. And under most regular driving, I find this transmission to be very smooth. Getting it to 65 is an easy process, and once you're there, you're going to be revving around 1600 RPMs. There's a fair bit of wind noise, but outside of that, it's a very subdued experience on the highway. And if you go off-road, I would definitely trust the all-wheel drive system here, especially since each model comes with X mode. It has the ability to individually brake wheels to try to redirect power in the system. This is fairly common, but when you combine that with Subaru's excellent ability to get power to the rear axle, this should be as capable as it can be, considering it has less than 18 degrees of approach angle, which will probably be the biggest limiting factor. But for snow and slick conditions, this is perfect. And with the Onyx and Up, you have a deep snow and mud mode that allows for more wheel spin to get you through thick stuff. Now on a windy, imperfect road, the Subaru Ascent has some handles for a big bloated SUV. There's not a whole lot of body roll. Good brakes too. But anyway, the suspension is forgiving, stays very controlled through rough patches of pavement without translating hardly any of the impact into your spine. I also wouldn't characterize it as soft or boatish. In fact, maybe even a bit firmer to compensate for the weight when compared to the Subaru Outback. It still retains that supple characteristic that I've really come to love about Subarus. Pushing it around some corners, flat engine orientation, a little bit lower center of gravity. You can make corrections mid-corner, and yeah, body motion definitely becomes apparent. This is, a large SUV. It doesn't have a bunch of adaptive suspension to try to hide that, but the steering itself is quick. It's precise. It's also very light and has a vagueness on center. The feel is quite numb, which all leads to the Ascent having a high level of capability on pretty much any road, whether it be windy, rough, or neither, but at the same time, the experience lacks pretty much any level of engagement. But I know most people who are buying these things are not getting them so that they can brag about the steering feel. Instead, they're just going to appreciate how easy it is to take around a back road, or how much visibility there is in here. You have ginormous windows, and the blind spots are minimal. Also important to families on a budget is gas mileage. You will get 21, 22 miles per gallon combined, which puts it a little below many of its key competitors. Itching to haul big loads? Get at least a premium trim, which comes with a transmission cooler that boosts the tow rating substantially. One aspect of the Subaru Ascent that's been a bit of a mixed bag is the reliability. The first couple of years had many reports of the CVT slipping, which turned out to be related to the powertrain control module. A select few also complained about blue smoke emitting from the tailpipe and AC failure. We also saw a fuel pump recall that has caused many issues for drivers. Some had steering problems too. The main qualms that continue to linger come from bad stock batteries, power-sucking tailgates, along with the ever-consistent, easily cracking windshields. While this isn't ideal, the last couple of years have been much better, even convincing Consumer Reports to recommend it again, and the FA24 engine seems to be doing a good job. Time will tell further, so I wouldn't list predicted reliability as a strength just yet, but it's not a downside. At the very least, Subaru has very strong resale values, so if you're looking to keep running costs as a whole down, I think the Subaru Ascent is not a bad pick. Standard, you will also have Subaru's Eyesight, again with the wider angle mono camera down here now. I found these to be pretty good at picking up lanes, doing your adaptive cruise. The one thing that I will say gets quite annoying is this has a very sensitive lane departure prevention, so I would probably silence that. This also does have blind spot monitoring, but you have to get the premium trim in order to get it. That feature also grants emergency steering assist, which works with the new sensors to help avoid collisions when autonomous braking is engaged. Even before this tech, the Ascent was rated a top safety pick plus by the IIHS. While that may be important to a wide variety of people, the Ascent manages to distinguish itself from the mainstream quite well. It can't boast that it's the most practical or most efficient. However, it does what other Subarus do really well. It handles great. It's comfortable, easy to drive, and can excel in inclement weather, all for a more than reasonable price. It seems like Subaru built the Ascent around the principles of what people love about the brand, followed by the features and size of what they need in a family vehicle, not the other way around. If you're looking for a sure-footed family SUV but don't need something too big, or you just like swole Subis, the Ascent should be high on your list. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, then leave a like to help me embarrass the YouTube algorithm. Subscribe and hit the bell for more. And follow me on Patreon for additional content starting next week. I'll catch you in the next one.